I wasn't a great student in high school. It wasn't until I started learning about learning disabilities. It turned my brain on. I got the ping. I was like, oh, this is so interesting. I want to do this.
After graduate school, I worked in a non-public school where I was teaching students in grades 1 through 6, and they had a wild array of difficulties. And I had been trained specifically in learning disabilities, but the kids that I was teaching had a lot of things going on.
After a while, I started wondering what to call myself, and I began to call myself an educational therapist. So I'm calling myself an educational therapist. I've never met another educational therapist. One day I decided to go to a conference in downtown Chicago, put on by one of our other presidents, Nan Freund. She starts mumbling these letters, AET, AET, thinking, what the heck is AET?
I went to a conference where I heard Dorothy Ungerleider speak. She talked about educational therapy, and I realized that there was a name for what I was doing, and not only was there a name for it, but there was also an association.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Ungerleider, and I was the president from 1979 to 1981. I studied at the University of Michigan. My major was in education of severely emotionally disturbed children. And then when I graduated from there, I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and worked in a residential treatment center for very disturbed children. I had boys from 8 to 12 years old in a converted bedroom of a center, and I really cut my eye teeth on that experience. Then moved to Los Angeles. I went to work for Marianne Frostig, and she was the first one to call me an educational therapist. I'd never heard the term before, and she was the one who brought the term from Germany. It was called Heilpädagogie, and she explained that that meant educational therapy.
Educational therapy is the blend of education and psychology.
An educational therapist works with the whole child or adult.
Processing issues, attention, study skills. Generally, we're working on a much broader range of skills that are going to affect them more than just in their education.
We have training to work with students who struggle in school. Those learning struggles can be very basic in terms of academic skills. They also can include social and emotional issues that the students are struggling with.
Humans have emotions, so we don't learn in a vacuum. We have to be sensitive to emotional needs when we're working with a student. I can't just sit in front of a student and say, you will learn this because I want you to learn this now. You have to be sensitive to the fact that the student comes with a background, that there might be other conditions that are affecting the students.
We cannot help any hurting individual if we're only working on their mathematical or their English or their social studies concepts, and we never adjust what is getting in the way of their functioning and thinking. So that the core to educational therapy for me is the therapeutic relationship. That we must build that connection with our clients and build that trust.
I had a client many years ago whose father could not understand a learning disability, and I told him if his son had a green toe, he would be able to accept it much more. And we kind of giggled about it, but I think it made him a little bit understand what his son was going through in the fact that he couldn't do some things that his dad said, it's so easy.
They sometimes see the world so differently from the way that I see it, and they just have sometimes an intuition. And as adults, sometimes we think that the children don't have that intuition or that insight, but they do.
In my case, I work with adolescents and oftentimes anxious adolescent girls who are participating in higher level math and science and helping them believe in themselves and in their successes and reducing the anxiety that so interferes with those particular subjects.
My bottom line is I try to help you be the best learner you can be, so that you'll have a good life and feel good.
It is a puzzle. We are detectives, and it's I think one of the most exciting parts of our field.
I love what I do. I mean, I love working with kids. There's nothing I like better than getting a kid that no one knows what to do with, and I get to figure it out, or I get to work on it. And to me, that's just fun.
Talk about wise women. These were people who knew they weren't tutors, who knew they weren't psychologists, who talked about how do we work with this whole child. Because I was in practice by myself in the community, I wanted to have people that I could talk to. So I began to have meetings once a month in my living room, and I'd invite other people who were doing special education privately, or principals of schools, or teachers, or speech language therapists, anybody where they wanted to meet and discuss cases and pick each other's brains.
I have been a teacher for 57 years. It was a group in Los Angeles that was kind of a socializing get-together, and I remember very clearly I walked into this room and looked at this group of women, and I said, I've come home.
It was a very wonderful experience. We would share experiences, we would share what we were doing with the children, what we were doing in terms of working with the parents also. This really was separate and apart from anything else that existed. There's something very special about educational therapists and their relationships with each other and their ability to really feel that you could talk about your problems. There is a tremendous respect, but there's also a lack of ego that I did it this way and why are you doing it a different way. There's absolutely the willingness and the eagerness to see it grow.
And then one day, one of our members wrote to Sacramento to renew her education credential. And on her letterhead, she wrote educational therapist. She got a letter back from the state saying, there is no such thing, and you should be prepared to be sued for calling yourself that. So she came to our next meeting, and of course we were pretty horrified by that, and we realized that we either had to disband or stop calling ourselves educational therapists, or we'd have to really work to legitimize the field.
In the late 70s, one of the women who had been in our group in Dorothy's living room moved to Santa Barbara, and she did an evaluation on a student using a Slingerland battery. And she was sued by a psychologist in the Santa Barbara area because they said she could not use that type of instrument. So we all took a deep breath and said, if we are going to practice, we have to have some sort of a group, a name, a plan, and we formed the California Association of Educational Therapists.
And so then it became writing all the bylaws, the code of ethics, doing research, and putting together what was then called the California Association of Educational Therapists.
And we just went from one house to the other house and sat on the floor and did it all.
Slowly but surely, we started working on getting some state recognition, and it's still going on today.
AET continues to be a relatively young professional organization. It continues to work towards gaining a larger membership, which will be essential for the licensure and all that comes from that.
Things have changed so much, going from no internet to internet, no procedures to procedures.
We're very fortunate that we're in a time with online programming. Well, Riverside is one program that's online completely now. And we have students from Africa, from India, from China, Singapore. We're really reaching out to all these different countries that really don't know what ed therapy is. And so that's really exciting.
The attendance list for the webinars is just really exciting. I think there were close to 20 countries represented.
We have books now that we've written. We teach courses. We're online with courses. We're more readily accessible to people who want to come and take part in this.
keeping and retaining our members. It used to be that educational therapy was unknown. Now educational therapy is known, but there are people that are using the term educational therapy without any training, without any background.
So many people have decided to latch on to the term of educational therapy because they think it sounds very important, and they don't understand at all what we really do.
I think we need to get the word out better. I think we have competition from a lot of different people that say they're ed therapists, and we don't have licensure, so that's a problem.
I think that licensing is essential for the field of educational therapy, and I believe that AET needs to continue to be at the forefront of certification to make sure that we continue with the high standards that we have. And I know that it is the best way when we can all concentrate on our efforts into one association to take educational therapy to the next level, to make it what it needs to be.
I think the most wonderful thing that I see continuing is the remarkable connection of all the members to each other. There is a camaraderie in this organization that I've never seen in any other professional organization.
I honestly feel that I am a different person because of my involvement. I loved every minute of being president of AET, and the collaboration and the experience of all those that have come before me was invaluable. I am grateful for everything they've done for me.
My hope is that the principles of ed therapy are used in education everywhere, every school, because what we do is we build character. We help students learn that there's a process to learning. We help them love learning, how to persevere, how to be resilient. Those are all things that you can take everywhere in life.
Long after I'm retired, I am hoping that there will be doctoral programs for educational therapists, that there will be research projects, that these outcomes will be published.
It's so critical for a profession to grow by having an organization that really helps sustain the standards and also allows everybody to collaborate with each other. If you don't support that core organization, that changes the whole future prospect of the field.
The association is not the president or the board of directors. AET is made up of its members, and each member has a responsibility to make sure that the world knows about the amazing profession that we have.
I've been a teacher for 57 years, and I'm soon going to be 79. I believe being an ed therapist contributes to longevity because the people who do it, and we're all still around, you know, we don't go away, and there's this joy of what we do. We're going to all live practically forever, maybe.